Mr. Raj Singh. Mr. Raj is a managing partner in India Law Associates. He is also positioned as a legal advisor to the International Solar Islands. He has been a speaker in SNEC Shanghai, GBF Guangzhou, National Power Training Institute, Central Board of Irrigation and Power, and is an associate for right to energy to be included as a fundamental right in all the constitution of the world. Today, Mr. Raj will be talking about Budget 2022 and regulatory policies for electricity. So let's welcome Mr. Raj.
सबसे पहले एक important question है कि किस challenge को हम solve करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. What is the biggest challenge in the energy sector? That is the question. So till 1992, the world did not accept that climate change is happening because of intervention of human beings. So we did not, हम सिर्फ contradict करते रहे scientific theories को, and the world did not accept. It is not we, the world did not accept. 1992 in Rio Summit, then Shirish ji is laughing, but Rio Summit, first time we recognized that there is a climate change happening and it is happening because of human beings. And that was the start of a wonderful journey. And this journey has brought us to this green industrial revolution which is happening. अब जो challenges identify करा, जो सबसे important challenge identify करा Rio Summit में and जितने भी COPs हुए, Rio Summit में हमें challenge तो पता था. We identified and documented challenge. But we did not have the solution, remember. So in the framework, we call it framework, we don't call it treaty, we call it framework. So in the framework, we made a framework so that we can find solutions in coming years. And सबसे important concept उस framework का है COP, Conference of Party. So we decided in Rio, conference, and subsequently we signed it in New York, and the world decided that every 2 years we'll all meet, heads of the state will meet in a conference of parties, and then decide what is the solution of this challenge of climate change which is happening. And every, frequently we have this, COPs. Last COP was held, Conference of Parties was held in Glasgow. And Sabyasachi ji has wonderfully mentioned that 5 goals which our Honorable Prime Minister has shared for India actually. It is so we decide our own goals and then we work on our own goals. तो एक जो सबसे बड़ा challenge है world में वो climate change है. We have to, अपने next generations के लिए, our grandchildren's के लिए, we have to keep the world safe actually, number 1. Second, एक domestic challenge भी है sir. India has been a developing country for last 70 years actually. And कब तक हम developing रहेंगे? We have to, shift somewhere. One of the challenges जो हमें developing और developed के बीच में है, वो ये है 12 lakh crore rupees we spend every year as a oil bill. So our taxpayers' money is sent to Gulf countries or any foreign country to import oil and connected resources for development of our country. If we can replace it with something which we produce domestically, it will be game changer actually. So second challenge, which is a domestic challenge which we are facing, because these are connected challenges, that is why I am discussing. Third important challenge is that energy poverty, as rightly said by Mr. Manish. And now we always, poverty is a very, vague word, $1, $1.2, something like this we say. Ab energy poverty to aur vague ho gaya, sir. What is the meaning of energy poverty? So I will share 2-3 facts with you. And at the global level, I will share. Number 1, 1.2 billion people across the world do not have access to electricity. We are all blessed that we have electricity at our homes and we are sitting and discussing with each other. Second challenge is that 3.2 billion people across the world do not have access to clean fuel to cook food. So mothers cook food using cow dung cake and wood. And our grandmothers also used to cook food using cow dung cake and wood. Third challenge, I will not go into details, but I'll just share a small thing. 3.2 billion people across the world do not have access to clean fuel. Our mothers cook food using cow dung cake and wood. They inhale all the poisonous gases while cooking food. And they do not suffer alone. The child of 1 day to 10 years has no other place to go. He sits beside the chulha and he or she also inhales all the poisonous gases. The World Bank in 2017 report said 5 million people every year die because of this problem. From COVID in last 2 years, I don't know the figures, maybe Prasad ji will tell the figures, but I don't think so that is the death rate. So for this energy problem, 5 million people will die every year actually. That is the World Bank report in 2017. I don't have latest figure, but this is what. Third, we are defining, Shirish ji, we are defining energy poverty actually. So third concept is that if in India the per capita power consumption is 500 to 1500 units per person per annum, then in North America and Europe the per capita power consumption is 15,000 to 30,000 per person per annum. You see the gap. And these three things together are energy poverty. So now we are well versed कि एक तो number one climate change हो रहा है. We all have to work towards green economy. Second, we are clear. India is, importing 12 lakh crores worth of oil, natural gas, and connected commodities. Let us replace it. Second challenge, to become a developed country. Third, energy poverty. And सबसे best thing है, this decade is the best opportunity for business people to encash this opportunity in this green industrial revolution, where we as Indians can lead, serve the nation and serve the world also actually. Okay. So having said that, the issue is कि sir क्या क्या solution है, and specifically with respect to the budget which we are having, in coming days actually. So let us talk about power sector. What is the meaning of power sector? Power sector in India, we use it very widely actually. कभी हम मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पावर को पावर सेक्टर में इंक्लूड कर देते हैं, कभी किसी और एंटिटी को पावर सेक्टर में इंक्लूड करते हैं, कभी बोलते हैं रेगुलेटर्स पावर सेक्टर. ऐसा नहीं है. Power sector means only 5 things. 5 things together constitute the power sector. Number 1, generation of electricity, transmission of electricity, distribution of electricity, supply of electricity, and trading of electricity. Together, this is the power sector. And if we are able to reform these, we will achieve all the 3 goals which we are discussing. इसमें सिर्फ एक चीज ऐड करना है हमें, और वो 6th component है, वो है fuel for generating electricity. So you have 6 components. 6th component is fuel, because Shirish ji was talking about hydrogen. This is when we talk about power, H2 power, that is the electricity generated through hydrogen, and we produce electricity through hydrogen, and then we generate electricity through hydrogen also. That is very important. So now, just to set in the context, so Sabyasachi ji, I have just set a context actually. First, I said that these are the 3 major challenges we are looking forward to solve. Second, I said that this is the power sector where intervention is required. I said power sector plus fuel to generating power, their intervention is required. अब एक question generally आता है. So whenever I am discussing it with very senior officers, तो वो because obviously they have all worked in thermal sector and nuclear energy and all other sectors. So they say, sir, Raj Singh, Niranjan ji, is it possible to have zero carbon electricity? Yeah, 100% renewable energy electricity. Is it possible technologically? So I had this discussion, with experts across the world, and even I have gone through some of the books which Terry has written, and some reports also. You have done a wonderful job actually. The answer is yes. Technology is available, capability is available, and we have wonderful manpower in India. It is possible in India to have 100% green energy, zero carbon electricity. And what experts say, solar and wind. अब अगर 100% green electricity करनी है हमें और move forward करना है fossil से, तो आंसर ये आता है कि भाई nuclear plus renewable energy plus hydrogen, ये आंसर आता है, plus hydro. Hydro, whenever we talk about hydroelectricity, it is the best form of electricity. It is best for the environment actually. And even the Supreme Court in the Sardar Sarovar project case 2000, it has clearly said if anything best can happen to India, it is hydroelectricity power project. But unfortunately, the scope is little limited because we have water capacity and mountainous region, and we have 1.4 billion people to serve actually. So एक थोड़ा सा limitation आ जाता है. Second, जब भी हम nuclear energy की बात करते हैं, so there is some there is lack of public relations exercise. So effectively, nuclear or hydro becomes a controversial subject to greater extent. लेकिन solar and wind controversial नहीं है. So I just, for the time being, I keep aside hydro and nuclear. छोड़ दो आप थोड़ी देर के. आप जिसमें आप खुश हो वही कर लो. Solar and wind की immense capacity भी. पर solar and wind के साथ challenge, शिरीष जी भी जानते हैं कि भाई it is infirm power and there is challenge. Solar का challenge ये है, solar best thing India में ये है कि solar 300+ days available. यूरोपियंस को वरी करने की जरूरत है कि हमारे यहाँ ठंड में सोलर नहीं है, दिक्कत हो जाएगी. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम इन इंडिया फॉर सोलर. 300+ days इज अ वेरी गुड टाइम वी हैव. ओके, उसका सॉल्यूशन बड़ा, एंड वी हैव दैट सॉल्यूशन, बैटरीज. सोलर में इशू सिर्फ ये होता है शॉर्ट टर्म इंट्राडे शॉर्टेज. दिन में आएगा, रात में नहीं आएगा, सिंपल बात है. इफ यू हैव अ स्ट्रॉन्ग बैटरी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऑफ 15% ऑफ योर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कैपेसिटी, 15% सिर्फ चाहिए, you will be able to tide over. Number one. Number two, for enhancing your energy security, you also rely on wind. Wind में issue ये होता है long term intra seasonal storage की जरूरत पड़ती है. उसका आंसर है हाइड्रोजन एनर्जी. So hydrogen can push in. So if you have 10% of the capacity, if you create for hydrogen energy, and 15% capacity you create for solar energy, 100% renewable energy is possible with only 4 components. एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी के लिए न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी और हाइड्रो एनर्जी इंपॉर्टेंट है, उनको रखिए. बट अगर ये 4 में हमने गवर्नमेंट ने फोकस कर दिया, वी विल हैव 100%. वी कैन डीकार्बनाइज द एंटायर पावर सेक्टर इन इंडिया विदाउट इंटरवेंशन ऑफ एनी अदर सेक्टर. ओके, अब वी टॉक्ड अबाउट, सो आई विल कीप माय कॉन्वर्सेशन लिटिल शॉर्ट. 5 चीजों की हमने बात करी. अब बजट में हमें क्या क्या चाहिए, इनमें 5 चीजों में ये डिस्कस कर लेते. फर्स्ट, जनरेशन, हाई पावर सेक्टर. जनरेशन में अगर सोलर की बात करें तो अप्रूव्ड लिस्ट ऑफ मॉड्यूल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स आ गया, दैट इज वंडरफुल इनिशिएटिव. पीएलआई इज आल्सो देयर, दैट इज ग्रेट इनिशिएटिव. एक बड़ा इशू आ रहा है सोलर सेक्टर में, वो रहता है रिसेंटली सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज गिवन अ डिसीजन ऑन ग्रेट इंडियन बस्टर्ड केस, वेयर दीज आर लार्ज बर्ड्स and while in their habitats, and they have around 2 meters of उनके जो पंख हैं वो 2 मीटर के हैं. So when they fly, तो वो electrocution से बहुत birds मर रहे थे. तो Supreme Court decided in their habitat areas, please lay all the they should not be above ground electricity lines, they should be underground electricity lines. This is a very major issue actually. And remember, this issue, even if in the review petition Supreme Court says let us say positive things, कि Supreme Court ने accept भी कर लिया, उसके बाद भी challenge नहीं खत्म होने वाला. Because पूरे इंडिया में hotspots, environment hotspots बहुत सारे हैं. So once this case starts, then it will impact other hotspots of environment hotspot, whether it is national park, whether it is your river estuaries, whether it is lot of, and birds can fly everywhere, and we need to protect the birds also. So in this case, maybe some policy initiative or some viability gap funding or some concession is given to the new transmission sector to be all in underground itself, and especially in hotspots actually. So if this kind of policy support is given and industrial action, obviously I understand it will be added to the tariff, वो अलग बात है, but if some policy support is given, this will be a positive aspect for improving more renewable energy generation and mitigating cost. Secondly, wind में we have wonderful manufacturing capacity, and offshore के लिए भी government is very happy, so we should expand, and maybe more financial assistance for promoting offshore wind is required. Second. Third is, I said 4 components: solar, wind. Third is energy storage. Government is doing wonderful. It should continue with whatever policy it has been done. Fourth is hydrogen. Substantial investments are required in hydrogen. At least 10% of our capacity should be generated, or electricity should be generated. Last mile electricity or energy security should be from hydrogen energy. So as Shirish ji has rightly said, electrolyzers production, we should be market leader in electrolyzer production, and whatever incentives. The beauty of the power sector is that it is not only that the central government is responsible. It is a joint responsibility of central and state governments. What I see generally, everybody is looking to central government for subsidies. You can as well ask for subsidies from state government. So if some state government is giving better subsidy or opportunity for production of electrolyzer, you say, I will invest in that state. Go ahead. So you will have double engine, ki sarkar bolte hai na, so you will have both benefits actually. So it is remember every time, it is a joint responsibility of central and state government. Allow the state government also to help, ask them also for help actually. And obviously they will have benefit in terms of more employment and more investment in their particular states. So fourth, so generation is first part. Second, I will briefly share my thoughts on transmission. Transmission, two initiatives we have to take. One is tapping international markets. So we are already connected to 4 countries in India, whether it is Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh and Myanmar. 5th country, Sri Lanka, we are not connected. The procedure is going on. So if government can invest and allocate budget for connecting Indian grid with the Sri Lankan grid quickly, that will be great. And secondly, if we can strengthen our transmission line with Myanmar, that will be great. Thirdly, if we can think of a project connecting India and ASEAN. So Australia is already connecting its transmission line, undersea transmission line from Darwin to Singapore. If we can connect Indian, transmission line from maybe Port Blair to Singapore, it will get connected to ASEAN line and it will become one market actually. So we get connected directly to Sydney actually, because Australian and Indian grids will be connected. When there is high demand in Sydney, we have a lot of sunshine in Rajasthan. So this has to be planned and maybe a small investment or a pilot project or something like that can be done, and TERI can become partner in this project. So in transmission, this one aspect is there. Second is for green corridors. Transmission lines are very important, especially underground transmission lines now for green corridors, for transmission of hydrogen and renewable energy. So this has to be planned in advance, because once we start production and then those delays will have a lot of consequences for everything. So this is about transmission. Third aspect is distribution. First thing is government is already aware and it is investing a lot of money. I will not go into that. My point of view is very simple. Distribution sector has been created by state governments, not by central government. It is the investment of the state government from its funds. So state government should decide whether they want to reform their distribution sector or they don't want to reform their distribution sector. The state government should decide whether they want to privatize it or they do not want to privatize it. Let us give the state governments the priority and authority to do that. What we can do is that we can do 2-3 things. Number one, let us de-license it. If there are 5 components of power sector: generation, transmission, distribution, trading, and supply of electricity. Generation is a de-licensed activity. No license is required. For transmission, distribution, trading, and supply of electricity, license is required. So the government, by amending the Electricity Act or any other procedure, it should de-license distribution of electricity so that more players can come in and they can start investing in this sector. No, in my view, no need to push the state government. It is their investment, their child. Let them decide how do they want to reform that sector, number one. Second, under section 14 proviso 8 of the Electricity Act, it is provided that in rural areas, if a state government notifies any area as a rural area, in those areas, license is not required. And this is a huge landmass of India actually. So just accepting the metropolitan areas or other transitional areas, other areas are rural areas. If a state government has notified a rural area, in that case, who is stopping the business people from setting up their distribution companies in rural areas? Go ahead and do it. It will be a contribution to the nation. What I will ask from the government is if for setting up that rural distribution infrastructure, if they can give some viability gap funding through SECI or any other entity, go ahead. And I will also add, as Manish ji has said, and Shirish ji has also talked about PM Kusum Yojana, where 2 megawatts of solar power can be generated from in the farmland. If you can connect that 2 megawatts of solar power generation to distribution in rural areas and give some viability gap funding or any kind of subsidy to them to set up an infrastructure, they will slowly grow up to become big entities actually. Maybe to have a parallel distribution network, a huge investment is required, but these kind of networks which are already there in the Electricity Act, already exemption is there, already it is a de-licensed activity. It is a low-hanging fruit available to all the people who want to enter the distribution sector. So enter that. For the government, we can only request them to give certain kind of, to make PM Kusum Yojana also a viability, that rural distribution can also become a viable entity and we can join both the things together. If we come to the fourth point, which is trading of electricity and supply of electricity. Supply of electricity, government has already in principle decided that we will put in a proposal for making it a de-licensed activity. For trading of electricity, industry action is required. It is not very difficult to take a trading license. It is industry which has to work. So this budget can do not much about trading of electricity. So with this, I conclude my thought. It is a wonderful discussion and look forward to interacting with all the stakeholders. Thank you.